The stars are bright, we own the night. The stars are bright, we own. The stars are bright, we own the night. The stars are bright, we own. The stars.
So my name is Jennifer Fink. I advocate for people with Alzheimer's and other forms of dementia.
So, okay,
Three questions, okay.
Just give up to me. Yes, one. Okay, that's the first one.
Stacked in there, okay. That looks like more than, okay, there's two and one more, three.
Wonderful. Okay, so proceed.
What color do I want to start with? Well, I was already advocating, but one of the biggest challenges for people like me who are caring for somebody with Alzheimer's or other form of dementia is the lack of understanding that most of the medical profession is lacking on how to engage with a patient. So a really perfect example is my mom needed some blood work, just basic blood work. We walked into the lab, thankfully it was very quiet, and I leaned over the counter and said, this is my mom, she's living with advanced Alzheimer's. You need to ask her one question at a time, slowly, and give her a chance for her brain to process so that so she can answer. We go in need a little more paint in that one.
Yeah, I think so.
We go into the blood draw room, and the gal literally looks at my mom and goes, "Can you give me your first, last name, and your date of birth?" Literally that fast. It took my brain 2 or 3 seconds to figure out what she said.
Mm-hmm.
And I just looked at her, I'm like, 30 seconds ago, I just told you can't do this. And then of course my mom didn't trust her, didn't want to deal with her, it just made everything so much harder. And that's a really, really common issue. That you really are dealing with two patients. You're dealing with the person living with the life-limiting disease, and you're dealing with their caregiver.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Would you say the listening aspect of, I don't know, the health team, that's really important, that we're kind of all
they need, first off, doctors in med school, or I guess med students is probably the right term, do not get any training in dementia in med school.
Okay.
I got that from a med school doctor, one that teaches at med school. So the dementia community believed that, and I got it confirmed with a guest on my show. And so we need to change that. And they really, really need, we have an aging population. They really need an understanding of what it's like to have the disease, to live with the disease, and to be caring for somebody with, Alzheimer's or, dementia caused from a stroke, so vascular dementia, Parkinson's disease, it's all
connected.
Yeah. Deaths from heart disease have decreased 2.3% in the last few years. Deaths from Alzheimer's disease has gone up 146%.
Really?
Yes, so it's like, hello, maybe your understanding of this disease is lacking.
Oh my gosh.
And, and I know they don't have a lot of time with patients, so,
Like, I get it, but that's a cop-out to some degree.
it would be
I get
nice
it, but,
if, so I do a lot of advocacy through the Alzheimer's Association.
Mm-hmm.
And in California last year, so 2024, we got a law passed that says if your practice is primarily older adults, physician's assistants and nurse practitioners are required to have, I believe it's 4 hours of continuing education in dementia care.
Wow.
they wanted to require it for physicians, but they knew if they required it for physicians in this proposed bill, you know, that the Alzheimer's Association writes, and then we go harass our lawmakers, advocate with our lawmakers to pass, it wouldn't pass. So it's recommended for physicians. Okay, it's better than nothing, and it did pass, but it's so frustrating. It's like, I'm a curious person. Why would you not want, you know, if you have 1 or 2 patients living with the disease, why would you not want to learn all you could?
Yeah, I don't understand that.
And it's not difficult because, you know, there's Google. But you could, I'm sure, if you have a physicians group, you could call it, you know, have your office manager call up the local chapter of the Alzheimer's Association. So I live in the Sacramento area. The Northern California, Northern Nevada chapter is in Sacramento. How convenient. You could call them up and say, hey, look, you know, we're getting more and more patients with some form of dementia. You got some program or something you could like help us out here?
Right.
And they'd be like, how many would you like? Would you like us to send our community educators, of which I am one? I would gladly go to the doctor's office. I mean, I personally think they should pay, you know, because
That's a whole other conversation.
yeah, for real.
Because I feel like once you say that, the conversation kind of goes in another direction.
But it's like,
for some.
yeah, why would you not want to know? Like, it would just make your life easier. Doesn't matter if it makes your practice more efficient. You know, you're like, my mom she was in memory care, and they kept thinking that she was having urinary tract infections. They're very, very common in older adults.
Okay.
And it can cause serious personality shifts. They go to bed at night, and they wake up the next morning, you're thinking, who the hell are you?
Yeah,
Like, what the heck? And, you know, until you've dealt with it, you really don't realize what it is. And so she wasn't having behavior issues, she was having other issues, but it always looked like that. And every time I would take her to the doctor, they'd literally hand me can you give us a urine, try to hand it to her, can you give me a urine sample? And she would just look at them like,
what are you talking about?
like, are you an idiot? And I would have to remind them, this is my my mother's general physician. Remember how we did this last time? It was like, why am I doing your job? And a lot of times I would get treated like I was just the driver, the chauffeur. So, yeah.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Okay, so what advice would you give an emerging advocate about sustaining community engagement when people are dealing with their own health challenges?
So they're advocating for themselves?
For someone else, and then they have their own health battles.
I would recommend that they pick the advocacy that is the most beneficial and the most crucial to them, because you can only do so much. If you're trying to do too much and you get sick and you're trying to take care of somebody else, like, we don't even need to go down that route. You know, that's just not a good thing.
It's a lot.
Yeah. So, you know, if educating doctors is your thing, good luck.
Basically.
You know, but getting laws changed, like, it was interesting earlier, I was in the policy roundtable, and there's so many like rare diseases that don't have an organization like the Alzheimer's Association, and they're a beast, you know. They write laws that are so bipartisan that I think that's why they picked the color purple, honestly. They did have a campaign one year where it was like, it's not a red disease or a blue disease, it's a purple disease, you know, to fix everybody. And I was like, you know, I wonder whose first term that was in.
You know.
And so they're really good. So they pick their battles because, you know, they are trying to make sure that the federal government keeps funding more and more money for research, because obviously if the disease is taking more people, then we need more money. And, you know, so pick your battles. make sure you're taking care of yourself. I have a whole soapbox that I stand on how to set up your own care team. That's like the most important thing, is like you have to have your village, your team surrounding you to care for your loved one, to help so that you can help care for yourself or maintain your own self. So pick your battles, get your team, go to war.
Basically, I love that.
It seems like everybody has to create their own. I'm not sure I'm getting any of this on the cameras. I'm getting it everywhere else, but
You got it.
I think we need more paint. That's the problem.
Which one is that?
Yellow. I'm trying to do splatters.
Yeah, the yellow.
Oh, I think we have enough. I just needed more on my brush.
Okay.
Here, I'm gonna do it this way. Trying not to make a mess.
Okay.
I'm a messy crafter. That's not gonna work. One of the biggest barriers for any caregiver, especially if you're doing elder care, is support from your employer. Why is that hard to say? That's another one of my. I got a lot of soapboxes. I am a neat freak, but maybe that's because I'm standing on so many soapboxes. It amazes me that corporate America isn't aware or isn't paying enough attention to the fact that there was a statistic just released this past October that says there are more workers caring for elderly people than there are for children. That's a little scary for some reasons, but it's like...
But I can believe it because you had many older adults living longer.
Exactly.
So
and your biggest risk
get it.
factor for Alzheimer's is aging.
I get it.
So it amazes me that there's a lot of stigma still, and we're working on that. And, you know, it's important for employers to understand that there are very simple things you can do to support your employees who are providing elder care, so that you can keep these generally higher level employees, and you don't have to try to replace a upper management person because they have to retire early or go part-time or just plain quit working, because that does happen a lot.
Right.
And they're not expensive. It's like, have conversations about Alzheimer's and other dementias affects everybody, whether you know it or not. I just had a realization recently where it was like, I've been dealing with dementia since I was like 14, because my next door neighbor lost her marbles. I have totally not politically correct way of putting that, but that's what we thought back in the 80s. And now I recognize all of the signs and symptoms that she had. And, so that's over 40 years of dealing with dementia. So it's like, have conversations.
Right.
You'd be surprised. I had a conversation with a real estate broker's assistant whose grandmother-in-law was living with Alzheimer's, and I asked her if she and her husband were providing any care, and she said no. And then during our conversation, something popped up, and I said, do you ever pick up groceries or pick up her prescriptions or do this, that, or the other thing? And she goes, yeah, sometimes. I'm like, congratulations, you're an intermittent caregiver. So she wasn't even aware that what she was doing was, caregiving.
Well, sometimes it's the terminology as well. We get stuck in the terminology, or we just don't know the terminology.
Right.
And doing it and not realizing that, this is what we're talking about.
Yeah, I didn't think of myself as a caregiver after my dad passed away. I'm going to stop the splatter so I don't wreck anything.
Okay.
It looks pretty good without my glasses on. It looks pretty good.
I love it.
So have conversations about what does your caregiving journey look like, or if you manage to get to CEO and don't think you've ever been touched by some form of dementia, just listen. And then you've got employees who are like, oh, her grandmother had it. Oh, her mom. Okay. Hey, let's have lunch and talk about support services, or just having just making it an open and safe environment for people to talk about it, not feel like they're going to get fired because, she's more worried about her mom than her job. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm worried about them equally.
Exactly.
So there's a lot
and guess what? Mom is more important, but
But you can't take care of somebody if you don't have an income. So,
True,
it's just
true.
like, oh, yeah. So, yeah, it's like, it's way past time for the United States to realize we have a very large problem with this disease. We're making some progress on some treatments, haven't found a cure, been looking, but it's elusive. but we're working on it. And, you know, until then, we all gotta like link arms and say, okay, you know, we want Acme Corp to be number one. And if we're gonna be number one, we gotta support these employees so they don't quit. You know, they can, how valuable is undying loyalty from your employees? Like, if they will lay down on train tracks for you because you have supported their caregiving, you can't put a price on that. You know, I'm gonna be I think it's MasterCard. It's like priceless. So there's just so many things people can do, and it's like, why is this taking many sledgehammers to get through your brain?
It's difficult, but your advocacy is appreciated.
Thank you.
And you gotta keep going.
It's what I do every day. I make a joke. I have an elderly golden retriever. She's 11. Average life expectancy for golden retrievers is 12. I think she might make it past that because she's very healthy and just bounces and spins, and she's just very active. But I am also very conscientious about my brain health and her brain health. She was 8.5. Until she was 8.5, she had another dog with her, and then we lost our younger one. And it was like, I'm not ready to get another one. And how do I help her deal with all of a sudden suddenly being an only dog? She's adapted quite well because now she's a really horrible beggar.
Oh boy.
She's really, really spoiled, but she's a very good dog. But it's like dog brain health and our brain health, same thing. Exercise, you know, eat right.
Diet.
Yeah, they don't need to, you know, socialize. So the dog needs to socialize. I need to socialize. So it's just, you know, that's what I do every day is brain health. I support caregivers who are still on the journey. Talk to people who are living with the disease. I just did a recording that's coming out at the beginning of February. The man in England who is a huge advocate, and he does it through cycling. And he rides a penny farthing, you know, the bike with the giant wheel. They'll scare me. And you would not know he's been living with the disease for 10 years. And I talked to him, it was after dinner for them, and it was after breakfast for me. I wasn't quite awake, but we managed. So yeah, it's just, you know, you get all the advocacy together, it all, you know, I think
It'll pan itself out.
just faster, please. I'm getting older. Got a birthday coming up, so, you know, we gotta.
So you want to hold up your...
Oh, sure. So this is kind of neurographic painting. It's just for fun, though. I think this is the top. Yeah, we'll go that way.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. This was fun.